Hello and welcome to my channel. This is CraftyRia. Today I'm going to show you how to make these really pretty embellished cards from cards that were sent to someone in the mail. These are recycled birthday and celebration cards. So let's get started. We're starting with this happy birthday card. The inside is orange. It's a Hallmark, and I'm going to go ahead and recycle it. This one measures almost 5.5 by almost 8. So one of the first things I like to do when I have an oddball size card that I know I'm not going to be able to cut down to an A2 size card is I try to find an envelope that will fit, or I'll have to make an envelope. But I just happen to have this sample envelope that is pretty much the perfect size for this card. So I thought, well, that would be perfect. I'll go ahead and use it. The problem with this envelope is it says your envelope imprint appears here, but it's a beautiful envelope. It has the peel off part where it would stick. It's lined with this pretty paper, and I don't want to throw this envelope away, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this by simply using this washi tape. I found this. I thought it looked really good with the colors on the card, and I thought I would go ahead and cover this up. So I'm going to just make the washi strip go across this. Just like that. Kind of eyeball it so it's even on both sides. And I just used the edge of a block to cut it. So that's going to cover that up on the back. And I can take my bone folder and just kind of burnish it down. Okay, so then now we have a great envelope to go ahead and use. So to use this card, I know I'm going to have to crop it because it is almost perfect the way it is, but I want to have it matted on some cardstock. So I took a piece of orange cardstock, an 8.5 by 11 piece, and I cut it in half. And then I cut it down to the measurements that would fit perfectly into this envelope, leaving about, if I were to put it down in the corner, it would be about 1/4 inch difference on each side. So I cut it down to about 5.25 by 8. So I'm going to have to crop a little bit off this card because, as you can see, it is not the right size. But I do have some room to spare. I have a lot of room top to bottom, but I only have a little room side to side because the word happy is so wide. But that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and give it a crop. So I'm going to start by cropping off the spine of the card, and I'm just going to take very little bit off. I'm not going to take very much. Put it in my trimmer and cut that spine off. And then I have this inside, which I'm going to set aside. We'll do something with that in a minute. So I have that, and I'm going to take a little bit off the other side as well, just to make it even. And let's see where we're at as far as this goes. I'm just going side to side, and I'm just eyeballing it. It looks like I'm going to have to take about another 1/8 inch off each side. I don't want to take them off unevenly. I think I want to be pretty even, although a little more can come off of the side of the H since it has a little more room there. So I will go to the Y side and take a little bit off, and then let me see. This is almost 5.5. So you're going to need a little more than 5 there. Okay, let's see if that helps. Yeah, that's a pretty good side-to-side measurement. And then as far as top to bottom goes, I think I'm going to take a sliver off the very bottom, since that's the most empty space I have. And again, I'm just eyeballing this. I am not actually measuring. And then there, I think that's pretty good. It gives a little bit of that orange border. And the reason I picked the orange cardstock is, number one, I have a ton in my stash. Number two, I wouldn't have to outline it with, I wouldn't have to make another mat and take up more room. And this isn't exactly white, so white cardstock I don't think would have really worked. All right, I think I want a tiny sliver off on the H side, just to make it a little more even. And I know y'all are probably telling me what to do in the video, but that's okay. I wish I could hear you. All right, so then that is going to be the basis of my card, which by itself it's very pretty. But I went ahead and got some embellishments from my stash, and I thought this card looked a little retro. So I got these, they're just foam flowers, and I thought they would look pretty on the card somewhere. And then I have these embellishments, and I thought that blue kind of looked really good with the blue. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet. And then I have these, which I thought looked good with all of the colors. So I'm going to start by adhering this down to the base. It's easier to adhere it down when it's flat before it gets bumpy with all the embellishments, because I could put the tape on it nice and flat. All right, make sure my card opens the right way. And if you've seen my other videos, you'll know I'm going to just look at the corners, and I'm going to make sure I get the corners even. And then I'm going to sit it down. I just eyeball it. And what I mean by looking at the corners, I'm looking here and here, and then here and here, just to make sure that those are even. And if those two line up, then the rest of the card will line up. And again, I just usually eyeball it. I don't make a big deal about it. And I'll go ahead and do the inside. I like this sentiment, and I like that it's on orange that matches it. But if I cut it out by itself and put it in here, you're not really going to see it. So I went ahead and got a piece of blue. Doesn't exactly match, but it's close enough. And it was in my scraps, and I thought it would be nice to use up the scrap. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. I don't know who Pierce is, but I bet he's a pretty cool, I would imagine he's a kid by the writing. And I bet he's pretty cool. And I would like to have a friend like Pierce. This wasn't my card. This card was sent to me in a box of Christmas cards that came from the Christmas card exchange that I did with a group of cruisers, Carnival cruisers. And I'm just kind of looking at it just to see if it's pretty centered. I think it's pretty good. I'm going to set these aside. I like this color orange, and I will put this in my scraps and probably use it on another project because they're pretty good pieces. And with this, I can give it a nice big border if I want, because it's going to take up this whole piece in here, and that way it's more of a focal image if I make it larger. And I'm covering up Hallmark because someone commented on one of my videos that this is better than Hallmark. So here we go. I'm sorry, Hallmark, but we're making a card better than Hallmark. There we go. Nothing against Hallmark. It's just homemade is probably a little bit better. I'm just going to eyeball this. I can always trim it down again if I feel it needs it. They make, We Are Memories Keepers makes really fancy rulers to do this for you, but I think just eyeballing it is pretty good. There. And then that kind of just pops a little bit out of the center. I kind of like it actually. And I'll go ahead and put this down. All right. So then I thought I would like something to kind of bring out that center. And I really, really love using these pearls or these sequins or bling, whatever you call them. They're not sequins, they're bling. So I'm going to go ahead and put it right along the centerpiece, and then that gold is going to be even more of an embellishment there. So I think that looks pretty good as far as that is concerned. And then I have these two pieces. I'm not sure what I want to do with this other one. I think kind of there, or maybe there at the bottom, because there's some embellishing up here but not much at the bottom. So I really do like that. I'm going to go ahead and get my tacky glue that I absolutely love. I keep it stored in a tissue box upside down. That way it's always at the ready. And it does dry clear, so if you get a little bit too much, it's okay. And I like to kind of put it on the paper, on the project, rather than on the embellishment, because it's just easier. All right, and then I have this fancy little tool here. This is from We Are Memory Keepers. It's a quick set. This side will pick little embellishments up, and this one here has this little beveled tip, and I thought it would help me with these. I thought I would use these blue ones and put centers in these little pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and stick this down, and I push this down right in between them and pull the rest away. That way it's going to separate that glue. There's like a line of glue. I'm going to put it in here and pull it away. And then you can even use this and move it around a little bit if you wanted to. There, put a piece there. Put a piece here. It's a little harder when you get down to the last couple. There you go. Put a piece there. And that way that brings some of the blue from the bottom up to the top. And then I have two more to do. Put one here in the center of that. And then one here. There. And then I think I'm going to try to put them, I'm going to take them apart ahead of time and put them in the center of these flowers. And since that glue is still wet on the back, the flower does move around. Let's put that down on my paper. There, and that should go right down into the center there. All right, there we go. So that card is done. And for this Celebrate card, I went ahead and pretty much did the same thing I did with the other card. I found an envelope that would pretty much go with it. It's a little bit big, but this card measures about 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. And I didn't want to cut this down to an A2 size because I don't think there would have been a good way to do it. So I'm going to keep it about that size. I took this blue sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock, folded it in half, and I trimmed it down to fit into this envelope perfectly, just like I did before, leaving about 1/4 of an inch on each side, on the top and on the side. So it leaves about 1/8 of an inch border. This is a regular envelope, so I'm not going to have to do anything to that envelope. So let's see where we are for size-wise. And I think this actually looks pretty good. The only thing is there's a little more room on each side than there is on the top and the bottom. So I'm going to crop the top and the bottom so I have an even matting all the way around. But since it is a card, you know, put together, I'm going to go ahead and actually I'm going to, instead of crop it my usual way, I'm just going to be very careful to get very little bit off of that spine. Oops, my paper moved. There we go. Yep. There, that's better. So I want to kind of eyeball side to side. I have quite a bit of room on the top and the bottom, so I'm going to take just a little sliver off each piece. If the cards that you get look a little bit beat up on the sides, it's really a good idea to trim the edges anyway. Sometimes the corners are bent when you get them to recycle. And somebody had given me this. I don't remember where it came from. All right, so I think we've got a pretty good border around all the sides. I chose this color blue because I thought it matched the word Celebrate. Okay. And I won't be using this center because the writing is too close to it. I don't think I'm going to be able to get a good cut of it. I think I'll leave the blank, or the inside blank, so I can write whatever I want to in it. So I'm going to go ahead and put all four sides. And what's nice about this, there's a lot of writing in that, and this darker blue cardstock will hide that when it's opened. You know, if white cardstock, sometimes the writing can show through. So I have that, and this will be a simple one also. While I had these embellishments out, I thought that this also went really, really well with it. I think I'm going to have to order more of these because they are awesome. I got these from AliExpress, and they're about 60 some cents, 69 cents or something like that for each sheet. And I think that's an excellent deal. They do last a long time, and I've definitely used them a lot. And I love that they're on a string of adhesive, and that way you're not placing each individual one. All right. tend to want to get my head stuck in there to line them up. Well, look at that. That came out pretty perfect. I did not plan that. All right, so we have that. And I really think that that's going to be it for this card. I'm going to move those over a little bit. And then what I would do for the inside, I will either stamp something or I'll leave it blank. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Something like this orange from that other card, I could even cut down and put in there with an embellishment on it. That would look good, or any other brightly colored cardstock, just to kind of make the inside pop a little bit. And what I do with the back of all of my cards, I have this stamp that says handmade especially for you by Ria, and I always stamp the backs. And this came from paperangel.com. I don't know if they're still in business, but I do have a friend that makes these types of stamps, and I can link her in my comments below. So there you go. There's this card and the one we just made, which is this happy birthday, using pretty much the same embellishments, not doing a whole lot, but just recreating the cards. It's certainly something you could do at home without a whole lot of fancy tools. You can put a piece of ribbon instead of the bling if you don't have the bling, or you can put whatever you like. So thank you again for watching. I really appreciate it. Please give this video a thumbs up and leave me a comment below. And also please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you have, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Bye-bye.